So hi, this is Kari. I am here with Cheryl and Colleen, and tonight Colleen did the project recipe Poolside Paradise and showed us how to do this traditionally. So I wanted to go ahead and take a little bit of time and show how to maybe do this digitally using Artisan. And this was a little bit of a challenge tonight because it had some very unique things going on. It had some punched borders. It used some of the punch debris or punch poop from those borders on the layout. And on the right side, we did some welding to put the pieces together. So there were actually a lot of layers and a lot of things going on. Fortunately, it was all rectangles. So, and it is not symmetrical, but you could make it symmetrical if you wanted to, but I won't do that. So this is the guide, and we have a copy of it over on our Facebook group, Consistently Creative Croppers, and you're welcome to grab it. There are some instructions down here on the bottom, which gives you some very precise locations about where to put the pieces in relationship to the top of the page or the bottom of the page, which is very helpful. And I used that. And then there were 4 pieces of paper that you cut. One of them had some punches, and there was a little bit of instructions that if you were doing this traditionally, since they have these 2 very narrow strips at 1/2 of an inch, you might want to pay attention to that when you cut those first. But I am going to do this layout a little bit differently than I normally do because there were a lot of layers and it was a little confusing to try to make certain I had things in the right places. And since I was trying to duplicate what was done traditionally. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do all of the pieces for each designer paper in the color that they were in the project recipe. And then I'm going to put them on the correct page. So I'm going to start out just with my 2-page layout, and I'm going to start with the cutting guide. So first thing right now, I have just a single page showing. So I'm going to go to 2 separate pages. So as I cut, I can take a look at the cutting guide as well as the layout and see which item goes on which page. So I'm going to start because designer paper 1 was only 4 pieces and it was kind of an orange color or a peach color. And the first shape was a 4x4. And there were 2 of those. So I'm going to just use the copy and paste. And then there was another rectangle that was 2 1/4 by 12. And there was one more rectangle that was 5 3/4 by 12. And now I have on a second screen which papers go to which page. So I know these 2 strips go over onto the right-hand page. So these 2 12-inch strips, and the 2 squares are going to be right about there. So I am just kind of putting them close to where they need to be while I'm in the 2-page view. And you notice as I slid those tall rectangles over to the other page and just let go of my mouse, they magically stay on that side. So I thought that was the easiest way to do this. So now I'm going to go to designer paper number 2, and that one was yellow in our sample. So I am going to go to a yellow piece. And the first pieces were those 2 narrow strips, 1/2 inch by 12. And we need 2 of those. So I'm just going to go to the home ribbon and copy and paste. And then I need a 4 1/2 by 4 1/2 piece. And then I need a 4 1/2 by 7 1/2. So I'm going to actually just copy this one, and I'm going to just change the height to 7.5. Now I know a number of these pieces are going to have to be rotated when I end up on the final layout, and I'm just going to take care of all of that all at one time. And then I've got a 4 1/2 by 12-inch strip. And this one says we're going to be on the reverse side of the paper, but doesn't really matter for this. And then I need a 2 by 12 inch strip. 2 by 12. Okay, and now I've got to take another look at my layout. So one of these narrow strips is going to go over on the right page, and one of them is going to stay on the left page. The yellow square is going on the right page. This yellow rectangle is going here. The other narrow strip that was 2 inches is going on the right page. And then this one is going to end up being rotated, but I will deal with that in just a little bit. Okay, now hopefully I've got all those right, but I'll see if not. Then the next piece, the designer paper number 3 was green. So I'll change my fill to green. And there was a 1.5 by 12 inch piece. And there was also a 9.5 by 12 inch piece. Okay, and the bigger piece is going to go over to the right side. The smaller piece stays on the left. And now we're to designer paper number 4. And I'm going to skip the 2 pieces that need to be cut. And I am going to make all of my mats. So I need 4 by 6. I'm going to change it to blue. And I need 3 of those. And I need 1 more that's 4 by 4. So I'm just going to copy it again and make a 4 by 4. Now I'm going to go back up and take a look. So this 4 by 4 is coming over onto the other page. I need to put 2 of these over onto the right page and 1 onto the left. Okay, so I'm in pretty good shape. So now I'm going to just show you the layout really again. So this is the left-hand page. So I've got the base here, a green strip, a yellow strip, a blue strip, and 2 square photos in this horizontal one. So I'm going to go ahead and get those pages all set up. All right, so this I really want in the bottom layer, and I'm going to nudge it over because I really want it to be at 7 point. All right, and then these 2 are going on top of it, and they do have specific placements based on the written instructions. And the top one is 1.5 inches. Is that right? 1.5 inches from the top. And this one, I think the bottom was 2 inches from the bottom, which means it needs to be at 10. So we really want the top at 6. All right, and I want these to be kind of centered here. All right, and then I've got this green mat that's going to go right snug over. I've got this yellow piece, which is going to go snug over. And now these 2 pieces need to be rotated. So I'm just going to grab both of them. I'm going to rotate them. And I'm going to end up reflattening them so that way the adjustment handle is back up at the top. So this was actually on top of this piece, and it is 3.5 inches from the top. So I'm going to change the X to 0 and the Y to 3.5. And then I'm going to center this just top to bottom. And that looks like it's fairly well framed. So I think that takes care of everything on that page. And I'm going to go ahead and add the photo frames. So we had a 5.5 by 3.5 inch. And I'm just going to center that with the 2nd and the 5th. And then I need another one that's 3.5 by 3.5. And I'm going to center those. And then I'm just going to copy this one, copy and paste. And then I think that page is pretty well set. Okay, now the second page is a little bit more interesting because what they had was they had recommended doing some welding of this page. And so I'm going to pull the instructions down here because it says here to create the right base, start by positioning piece D on the right side, which is this orange one, and and then adhere piece L, which is the green one, to piece D to create a base. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So L is this big green one. So this one we really want all the way over at 0. And then this one, that's not quite at the right spot, like there. Okay. And I'm not sure which one needed to be on top. I don't know that it matters at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and I have to bring a couple of these up above so we can see them again. Okay. So I have 2 yellow pieces over here. And then we have another yellow piece down here someplace. There we go. And these 2 are going to be centered. And I don't believe it gave instructions for exact placement, but I attempted to line it up with the ones on the other page so that it went straight across. And we will need a photo holder for this. This was 3 3/4, 3.75, so by 3.75. And I'll center it with the 2nd and the 5th. Can remove my ruler marker. And then this one's going to be horizontal, one's going to be vertical. So again, I can just rotate it and flatten it, or I could have changed the dimensions on it. Either way is going to work just fine. And I need to add some photo frames. So one is going to be 5.5 by 3.5. Again, aligning with the 2nd and the 5th. Another photo frame, 3.5 by 5.5. And selecting them both, aligning with the 2nd and the 5th. And is that everything? I think that's everything except for the 2 border strips. So I'm going to just show you, here's their sample. And this is the 2 layouts. And I am going to actually pause the recording for a moment so I can just kind of double check everything. All right, I think I have everything except for the strip that needs to be punched, and the instructions had punch and then cut and have it be 1.5 inches wide. I am going to just do it a little bit opposite. I'm going to do it 1.5 inches wide by 12 just to begin with, and I need one on the right page, and I need it below some of those photo mats. There we go. And I'm going to need one on the left page. So I'm just going to copy, paste, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it over. And then on this page, I can drag it down below those. So if you want to punch a shape, there's a number of options. And depending on what photos you're choosing or what you're going to do is probably going to determine what you're going to do with this. If you're going to punch a shape or actually cut a shape out. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, but one of the easiest ones is to select the shape, go up to cut, cutters straight, and do a shaped edge. And it has to be flattened, which is okay. And there's a lot of various shapes that you could use, and the basic ones that come with the built-in kits are listed here. So I am just going to take one of these. I think I'm going to take the arch and select the shape. And I need to rotate this. And since sometimes it's really hard to have it rotate and be exactly the way I want it, it's easier to do it with the angles on the side. I can change the aspect ratio and make them nice and tiny. I can change the width here. So if I want it smaller, I can also do all of those things I can do these adjustments using the gray shading over here by grabbing the edges and shifting things around. I could rotate them. I could pick different things. So, but you can always come in here and make the adjustments that you want. So I think if I'm going to do this, I'm going to cut it so that it's close to the edge. And when you're cutting, you really want to stop and pause and decide whether you want to have the shaded area or the unshaded area, or if you're uncertain, you can always keep both areas. In this case, I know I want to keep the unshaded area, so I'm going to go ahead and select that here, and I'm going to cut. And you can see that I have it here. So if I really want it to be exactly the same on the other side, and I don't want to have to go through cutting it again, I can go back, I can copy it, I can paste it. I would go ahead and I could rotate it here, and I could put it over on my other page, just like that. And then when I come over here to this other page, I can remove the one. This is the one I need to remove, yes. And then I want to slide this one down there. And then I have my cuts. So then I can fill these in with paper. I could save this out as a template onto my own page so I can use it again if I don't want to have to reproduce it. And the other couple of things with the layout that Creative Memories had done was that they had put some embellishments here on underneath the photo on the left side of both pages. There's one over here, and then they have a little one here. So there's a number of things that you can do. If you don't want to do some kind of punch, you can also use a border strip. You could use some ribbons. There's a lot of digital embellishments that are really conducive to using this layout. So I'm gonna show you, this is what I did, and Lynn is also on, so I'll stop sharing my screen in a moment. So this is what I did. I ended up using some ribbons because I thought these ribbons worked really well for what I was doing. And I made them exactly the mirror image on the left and the right page. I put some journaling block here. So I've got a journaling card and I didn't really have a whole lot of embellishments because I didn't really have a whole lot, but I think that's okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Lynn can share hers, because hers looks totally different. And so she used another set of papers and added another photo on both pages. So she has 4 photos on both pages, but the background is very similar. She's got some flowers going in her border which it looks really nice. So is that a shape cutter as opposed to did you pick that flower shape for your shape in the cutter?
Yes, it's a shaped edge cutter, yeah.
Nice. Very nice. And some pretty butterflies that match the flowers in that picture.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So I will wrap up and share just the last little bit here. So we appreciate you watching this. If you have any comments, you can always comment on the recording. You can comment on our Facebook page or our Facebook group, but we hope you enjoyed seeing how to create this project recipe digitally. And be sure to share with us whatever you create so we can admire your pages and your creations. So thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at a future Zoom.